In order to understand the purpose of description in creative writing, you need to understand why people read, why they get lost in stories. People read to be entertained, to escape, and to learn. If you don't have strong description, they can't do these things because they can't picture your story. Today I want to talk about the purpose of quality description in creative writing. Without description, quality description, your readers can't picture your story, or your characters, or your setting, or what's happening. And if they can't picture that and imagine being there, they're not going to enjoy reading your book. This is why you need quality description. This is Ignited Ink Writing, a channel dedicated to helping authors like you transform your writing so it lingers with your readers, because writing that lingers gets remembered and recommended to others. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. Let's start with setting the scene. When you describe your story's setting, you ground your readers in a place. Your characters are not just floating heads in a space vacuum talking to each other. They're somewhere doing something. Describing the fine sands of the desert, the smell of pine in a Christmas store, or the crystal blue of a crisp mountain lake allows your readers to experience that place alongside your characters. They feel like they're there. It makes the place real to them. One type of setting description is particularly important, and these are descriptions that clue your reader into the era of your story. If you're writing historical fiction, science fiction, fantasy, or memoir, this is particularly important. Your readers need to know not only where they are, but when they are. Something like the stiffness of a Victorian dress can be a great description because it hints at the era, it shows what your characters are wearing, and it lets your reader know how your characters feel about that dress. It's stiff and uncomfortable. That's the difference between quality description and describing something just because you feel like you have to. If you relate it back to your characters and story, it becomes more interesting and more impactful. One key component of setting description often harped on in writers' groups is the use of the 5 senses. Places are not just something to look at. They have a sound, they have a smell, they have a feel to them. But you don't have to use every sense every time. Yes, you need more than just what things look like. But why would I describe taste if my characters are running down the street? They're not thinking about what that street tastes like in that moment. I might describe taste if they're having a meal or if they've just been punched and they can taste blood in their mouth. I'm not going to use every sense to describe every moment. That can get clunky and start to feel contrived. So yes, use the 5 senses, but pick the senses that are directly impacting your story in that moment, or that your character is noticing right then, or that your reader might need to fully experience the scene. When you use quality description to set the scene, you make it possible for your readers to fully experience that place without bogging them down with unnecessary details. There's a balance here. Yes, you need to describe things, but you don't need to over-describe them. Once you have your scene described, it's time to move on to your characters. So let's talk about character portraits. Description is one way your readers get to know your characters. When you describe your character as shoulders slumped, looking at your shoes, you're letting your reader know not only that they're disappointed, but how that disappointment manifests within them and how they handle that disappointment. Quality description goes beyond your character's hair color and eye color. Describing your character's actions and feelings shows what motivates them and how they are active participants in the story instead of just people objects that things are happening to. When you create quality character description, you make your characters more active, interesting, and impactful. In order for your reader to know what your characters look like, you have to describe them. But don't get stuck in the trap of she had long brown hair, he had pretty green eyes. That doesn't really describe a person. Lots of people could fit those characteristics. So you want to focus on the aspects of your character that are unique or that are going to become important in the story. Yes, I might say that my character has brown eyes, but I might focus more on the description of the fine line of crow's feet and laugh lines next to those eyes. That is letting my reader know that this character is older, they're experienced, but it's also showing that they're joyful. They've laughed a lot in their life. They're probably optimistic. That's the type of description that's going to set your character apart. Sometimes this uniqueness can be something drastic like a scar. Other times it's just the aspect of the character you choose to focus on. And going back to the 5 senses, remember your characters are more than just what they look like. So think about describing what their voice sounds like, how they laugh. Maybe they have a very distinct smell. Maybe it's pleasant or unpleasant. What is that scent? Is their skin smooth or is it bumpy? Bring the 5 senses into your character description as well as your setting description. And remember, readers return to a series because of the characters, so make sure they're easy to picture. Next, let's discuss bringing events to life. When you describe the moment and feeling of a bullet passing through a brain, readers can feel the pain, that physical agony. They can also feel the pain in the betrayal of a friend and loss of life. That moment becomes real to them. Suddenly, they know what it's like to be shot. Choreography is one place you definitely need description. Choreography is your character's movement in space. So if a character picks up a coffee cup, that's choreography. When choreography becomes an issue is when you show your character sipping their coffee, and then in the next line they're cleaning that coffee mug. You missed the steps in between those moments. Character choreography is a great way to break up dialogue and to show them interacting with their setting. This gives you opportunities to show how they feel about something and what they're doing. Action sequences in particular need to be described. These are high energy moments. Your readers want to know what's going on. They want to see who's doing what, why, and how. They need to be able to picture this quick sequence. This doesn't necessarily mean that we always need a punch-by-punch explanation, or that action is always violent. Quality description of an action sequence could be your character finally giving in to their lust, or solving a puzzle in the nick of time. When quality description works is when you go beyond a list of sequence of events and show how those events are affecting your character, your plot, your setting, and the other aspects of your story. Next, I'd like to share why a professional editor believes every story needs quality description. Description is meant to show your story instead of telling it. Showing is more interesting, and this allows your readers to feel like they're there. Quality description sets the scene, creates a character portrait, and brings events to life. But description for description's sake is not the same thing as quality description. You can have too much description, or you can go off on a tangent and describe the wrong thing. Both of these slow the pace of your story and create sections readers skim or skip altogether, and it can make them put your book down and read someone else's. So make sure what you're describing is impacting your story, and it's what matters, not just what's there. Focus on describing aspects of your setting, characters, and events that show your character's motivations, or decision-making processes, or what's really happening. Don't spend your words on minor, inconsequential details. The flip side is also true. Too little description makes it impossible for your readers to fully immerse themselves in your story. It can become confusing or difficult to picture, and when that happens, their imagination isn't activated, they're not transported to another world, they're not really interested in what they're reading. So you need to find that fine balance between too much description and too little. Often that is focusing on what matters. Your readers need quality description. What do you prefer to be described in stories you read? Share your preferences in the comments below. And for more videos on description and other aspects of writing, subscribe to Ignited Ink Writing, a channel dedicated to helping authors like you transform your writing so it lingers with your readers, because writing that lingers gets remembered and recommended to others. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. To find out more about me, go to www.ignitedinkwriting.com. There you will also find a guide to building strong settings. This will help you create quality description. And now it's your turn to capture your reader's attention with quality description and ignite your ink.